How are you doing?
I'm okay. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. How's the weather in California today?
It's nice today. We're not smelling any smoke at the moment, so that's always good.
That's good. Today is extremely warm here, so
Oh.
I'm feeling like I'm in California at the moment. It's really hot because we were in winter time. So
Oh,
uh,
okay.
so now it's starting to get warm, but it got warm really fast. So today it's really warm. But yeah.
Uh,
But thank you for coming in today. All right, thank you so
oh,
much for
sure.
coming in and presenting in California. I'm very excited to see your presentation.
So shall I share my screen?
Yes, you can share your screen. Everything is up
Okay.
here. I'm recording
Oh,
everything.
can
It's
you
all
enable
good.
me to share screen?
Oh, sorry. Yes, I will enable you. Everything is
Okay.
working good?
Yeah, here it comes.
Yes, I can see. Yes, I can see your whole screen now.
All right. So shall I start?
Yes, you may.
Okay, great. All right. So thank you, Nanda, for inviting me. We're really excited to share about opportunities to study in California. I am Laura Perry. I'm the International Recruitment and Marketing Coordinator for California State University East Bay in the San Francisco Bay Area. I'll just touch a little bit on our campus at the very end, but this presentation is just an overview about study in California for students who may not know all of the different options that they have.
Perfect. I'm excited.
All right, so why should you study in California? As if we need to sell you, but we're gonna give you a few key points. So first of all, California is a very welcoming multicultural community. It's the most diverse state in the United States and also hosts the largest number of international students in the United States.
Wow.
There are over 750 different colleges, universities, and trade schools in the state of California. And there's a huge variety of the different kinds of schools and programs you can choose from, to really intimate small liberal arts colleges to huge, massive universities of over 50,000 students. So you can choose from large cities or smaller towns. There's rural areas. There's a varied cost of living throughout the state. And there's literally thousands of academic programs to choose from in the state of California. The other key thing is internship opportunities. California really is the epicenter of a variety of industries, from entertainment to agriculture, import-export, finance, healthcare, tech, and biotech. And Silicon Valley, San Jose, San Francisco, and Los Angeles have been named as the first, second, and fifth best cities for US job seekers. We really do find that international students are able to get really excellent work experience here in California. And then, of course, there's just the California lifestyle. We were just talking about the nice weather here in California. Along the coast, it's generally mild weather year-round with lots of sunshine. For Los Angeles and San Francisco, for example, it doesn't snow in those cities.
Good.
But if you want to get snow, you can, because you can drive into the mountains not too far away, and there's excellent skiing. There's also just, amazing cities, as well as a very diverse landscape. We've got beautiful coastlines, amazing forests, desert landscapes, and mountains. There's a little bit of everything in California.
Yeah, that's awesome. Are you from California, Laura? Just so I can get some.
No, I just moved here 5 years ago. So I was excited to come here because I never really spent much time in the state. So I am appreciating the opportunities to explore this beautiful state.
Awesome. That's awesome.
All right, so I'm going to start out with just an overview of public higher education in California. So there are three large systems. First is the California Community Colleges. It's the largest higher education system in the United States. They have over 2.1 million students at 115 colleges. They award certificates and two-year associate degrees and prepare students to transfer to universities, including the CSUs and the UCs, as well as private schools. The CSU system that my school is part of is the largest public university system in the United States. We educate approximately 484,000 students at 23 campuses. We're focused on undergraduate and graduate instruction. So there's not very many doctoral level programs in the CSU system. Those are mostly reserved for the UC system. And the CSU focuses on practical education that prepares students for careers. The UC system is the state's primary academic research institutions. So they're the primary awarder of all doctoral and professional degrees. So if you want to get a law degree or a medical degree, those would be through the UC system. They also educate 250,000 undergraduate and graduate students at 10 campuses.
Wow, that's awesome.
So here's an overview of the California community colleges. Oops. So you can see all the pins on the map are all of the different places where there are community colleges. And also just want to point out the cost of tuition for out-of-state or international students is under $7,000 per year for these community colleges. 1 in 4 community college students in the United States are attending a California community college. They transfer nearly 80,000 students each year to the UC and CSU systems, and they have transfer agreements with the CSU and UC systems, which make it easier for students to transfer into those 4-year programs. Their per unit course fee is among the lowest in the nation for community colleges. And one really important benefit of studying at a community college is that you can do a year of OPT after completing your associate's degree before transferring to your other institution. So this gives you an extra year of work experience in the United States. Are you all familiar with OPT, or do you want me to go over what that means?
Well, I know what OPT is, but if you want to go ahead, I applied for an OPT after my 4 year of college. So you can explain what it is so people can understand also. Okay.
So OPT, or optional practical training, is a benefit of the F1 student visa in the United States. And there's actually 2 different kinds of practical training you can get. One is CPT and one is OPT. So CPT is curricular practical training, which is like an internship for academic credit. So you're doing it while you're enrolled in your university, and you're getting credits for that work experience. Whereas OPT is usually done after you finish your degree, and it's typically for 1 year. And you're just able to still stay on your student visa and get some work experience that is usually paid. And the benefit of a community college is that you're able to get OPT experience after each degree level that you complete. So if you go to a community college after your 2-year degree, you can do a year of OPT. And then if you complete your bachelor's degree, you can do another year of OPT. And then if you say, for example, you went on into a graduate degree, then you would qualify for another year of OPT. The other thing is that students in STEM fields, so science, technology, engineering, and math, are eligible to do an additional 2 years of OPT after their bachelor's or graduate degrees.
That's awesome. Yeah.
So I just wanted to give you an example, a little bit more of the transition from community college to universities. So half of CSU students transfer from California community colleges. So it really is a very well-established pathway. In 2016-2017, over 8,000 students transferred from community colleges to private universities in California as well. So I've just listed the most popular: Ashford University, Azusa Pacific, USC, that's the University of Southern California, the Academy of Art University, and even Stanford. Nearly 1/3 of UC undergraduate students are transfer students, and 92% of UC transfer students come from a California community college. So it's pretty well common knowledge here in California that if you don't think you're going to be accepted into a UC school because they are very competitive, your best option is to apply to a community college and then transfer in later. So 2/3 of transfer students who apply to the UC are admitted, and UC transfer students graduate at a rate equal to or better than those who entered as a freshman, as well as saving you a ton of money in the process.
Yeah.
So on the right, I've just got a picture of one of our current transfer students at Cal State East Bay. So this is Yukari Suzuki from Japan. She attended Diablo Valley College, also here in the Bay Area. and transferred to us last year. She's studying speech pathology and audiology.
That's so cool. I just have a quick question about what you were saying about community colleges. I talked to, because I don't know, maybe it's different in California, but I talked to a Brazilian lady. She's also studying in a community college, but she's in Florida. And she was explaining to me how her community college actually has dorms. I don't know, because I know it's very not common. It's not common for a community college to have housing, right?
That's true, yeah. Because traditionally community colleges were really meant for the local community as or students that live in the area, and they're primarily commuter schools. But as international students around the world start to see the value of community colleges, and they're really attracting more and more international students, I think we're seeing a trend, and especially some of the bigger community colleges that are attracting lots of international students, that they are starting to build some student housing.
Okay. No, that's awesome. Because I was like, people see like, oh, wow, it's cheaper. And for not having housing, that's one of the reasons why it's so much cheaper than a 4-year college, let's say, right? Because you don't have to pay housing that usually comes in.
You still have to pay for housing. It's just not going to be through the institution.
Yeah. And that's how people get confused. Like, wow, it's just 8,000, 7,000, but then you have to pay housing, right?
You always have to consider the housing costs separately.
Yes.
And some schools may be able to help you with finding a homestay. Even our university can help with a homestay if that's what you're looking for.
That would be awesome.
But you just always have to look for the cost of living in the area as well. How much that's going to cost you. So just a couple of the notes here about transferring to universities in California. California community colleges dominate, or California colleges dominate the Money Magazine list of best universities to transfer to. So you see UCLA, UC Berkeley, CSU Channel Islands, CSU Long Beach, UC San Diego, UC Santa Barbara, UC Irvine, and San Diego State are all in the top 10 of best universities for transferring. And the state's two-year college systems really do have clearly defined pathways for students that help them transition to the CSU or UC system. And most of the private schools also have, articulation agreements that clearly spell out which courses are needed for transfer. In the CSU system, we have 4 classes that are called the Golden 4 that must be done while you're in a community college. So there are 3 courses in what we call Area A. So there's a speech class, a written or like a writing class, and a critical thinking class, and then a college level math. Those are the Golden 4. And any of the advisors at our California community colleges are going to be familiar with that system, as well as other courses that need to be completed for general education transfer. And some schools also offer scholarships to transfer students, including Cal State East Bay. We are very happy to have a $2,000 scholarship available to incoming transfer students.
Perfect.
So this is the CSU system. You can see it ranges from the whole state, from the far south in San Diego up to the north in Humboldt. And here is East Bay here, sort of in the middle in the Bay Area. And there are 23 campuses, and we have a great variety of schools. We've got some mid-sized commuter schools like East Bay. We have under 15,000 students. So Dominguez Hills has a similar number of students. But there's also residential campuses, so more of the traditional college experience where more people are living on campus, like Chico or Humboldt. And then some newer and smaller schools. So Channel Islands is a relatively new school. Monterey Bay is a smaller school with under 10,000 students. Sonoma is a smaller school, Stanislaus. So you can get a variety of the kind of size and fit that you're looking for. The CSU is also the most diverse university system in the country. For admission, international students generally need to have a high school GPA of 3.0 or a 2.0 transferring from community colleges. Some CSUs might have slightly different requirements, but that's sort of the general thing that they're looking for. One thing to keep in mind is that the nursing major is impacted at all of the CSUs. That just means that it's very competitive, and they just can't accept everyone that applies. So there's probably additional application requirements. And some campuses are impacted in other majors as well. And you can look for those on the Cal State Apply application to see which programs are impacted. In the CSU system, SAT or ACT is optional for students from foreign high schools, except for Cal Poly Pomona and Cal Poly San Luis Obispo.
And what you were saying, like about the CSU program, that is true for all the schools that are on the right here, right? Like that's not just for your campus; it's for the whole, all the universities that carry the
Right.
California State University program, right? The
definitely
system.
the 2.0 transfer GPA and the 3.0 high school GPA applies to most schools, although I think a couple of them might be a little bit more lenient on the high school GPA.
Okay. And so let's say if I wanted to apply to the system, the CSU system, I would have to apply for a specific school, right? Like let's say
yes.
California State University, then East Bay, right? Because they're specific. They're
Right.
different schools under the same system, right? Just to clarification for people here. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, there's one application. It's like a common application for the CSU system called Cal State Apply. So you can apply to any of these 23 campuses through that one application. Or you could apply to multiple schools. You just pay the application fee for each school.
Mm-hmm. Do you guys take the, because that's like common in the, I don't know, Eastern side, there's the common app, but that's what you said, there's a specific one for the California, right? Or no?
Right, yeah, I'm going to show you the websites for that as well. We do not accept the common app in the CSU system, nor does the UC system accept it. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I have another slide on that a little bit later.
Good. Sorry.
But before I move from this one, I just wanted to highlight the cost of tuition for the CSU system is averaging about $16,500 for undergraduate students. It can be slightly up or down from that depending on local campus fees, but this is a very good estimate for those costs.
And that is also for international? That's the cost.
That is for international students, yes.
And that's per year, right?
That's per year, yeah. So that's 1 year taking the minimum number of units required to be full-time. Mm-hmm. So if you take more units, then there would be an additional 396 per credit unit added on to that.
And that cost is included the living on campus? Like what?
No, that is just tuition.
Just tuition. And then you will have more the cost of what is the additional cost? So housing and food?
Yeah, so your living expenses in the Bay Area, for East Bay, we estimate $18,000 for living expenses. So that's going to be, similar for the schools in our area. It'll be a little bit lower if you're not in a major metropolitan area. And the other mandatory expense is health insurance, because the United States does not have a common health insurance scheme. So at our school, that cost is about $1,500 per year.
$1,500.
So,
all right.
Yeah, every school is gonna tell you what the costs are for your living expenses and health insurance and tuition. Altogether, that'll be the total amount that's needed for the I-20. Which is the document you take to the embassy, and the amount of cash that you need to show that you have available to pay for 1 year of schooling.
Yeah, perfect.
All right. So just a quick note on how to research and apply to the CSUs. We have a couple of interesting things to help you locate schools on our Cal State Apply application. So I just wanted to highlight this campus match because I think it's kind of interesting. You can explore all 23 campuses. You can search by location, setting, enrollment, and sports. And I just wanted to highlight this because I know there are a lot of student athletes that are wanting to be able to play their sport in the US. And most of the CSU schools are NCAA athletics, either Division I or II or III. So if you are a volleyball player, for instance, or a soccer player, you could pull up the sport and then see which campuses offer that.
Wow, that's awesome.
And the other thing you can do is search by degree. So if you have a particular field of study that you're interested in, You can pop that in here and see which schools offer those degrees.
Awesome.
So now to the UC system. So there are 10 campuses in the University of California system. 9 of them offer undergraduate studies. So the University of San Francisco is only a graduate professional health science school. So only upper level students would apply for that. So 9 campuses are also ranked among the top 150 universities in the world based on their quality of research and faculty. And the UCs have the most top 10 departments of any university system, public or private. And most of these are very large campuses. So UC Merced is the newest UC school, so it's still a little bit smaller, but all of the other ones are 20,000 to almost 45,000 students, so very large campuses. International students need at least a 3.4 high school GPA to be admitted to the UC system, or they can transfer with a 2.8 from community colleges. And the UC Board of Regents did recently vote to stop requiring SAT or ACT for admission. This was big news here. And their intention is to develop their own standardized test for the UC system at some point, but they haven't done that yet. So for now, you guys are lucky that you do not have to submit SAT or ACT.
Yeah, that's amazing. I think what they still would require though would be probably the English in proficiency one,
Yes.
right? Like
yes,
total.
Absolutely, yeah.
But compared to the ACT or SAT, one test about just English is way easier for us to study
definitely. For. Yes. And just to point out that the cost differential, so remember the community colleges were under 7,000, the CSU system was 16,500, and annual cost for the UC system is $43,800. So there you're seeing your options there. Mm-hmm. So I also wanted to mention there is a group called Study California. This is a membership-driven nonprofit corporation of the state of California, and their goal is to promote our state to international students and encourage them to study in California. So I just wanted to bring this to your attention, this website, studycalifornia.us. This kind of consortium is actually present in, I think, most states. So if you wanted to study in New York, you could look at Study New York. If you wanted to study in Minnesota, there's a Study Minnesota, there's Study Texas. So each state, so for example, if you had a family member in Florida that you thought maybe you could stay with them, then you could look at Study Florida, see what kind of options were. So for Study California, you can search universities by the kinds of programs that they offer. So it includes ESL programs, short-term, summer, and certificate programs. You can search by 2-year colleges, 4-year universities, or graduate programs. And Study California also offers $1,000 scholarships for students who are studying in the state of California. So these are very limited, competitive. I think they just offer a few each year. But if you go to their website, you can see it. You see in the very top, it says Study California Scholarship. There's a link there.
But that's cool because that will probably add to what the school might even give you, right? Like that's a extra.
Exactly, yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So here's a summary on how to apply to California colleges and universities. So the California community colleges have a website called cccapply.org. And on that, you can choose a college, and then it's just going to route you to that college's website. So they don't actually have a common application, but this is just sort of a landing page for you to search the community colleges and go from there. In the CSU system, as I said, we do have a common application called Cal State Apply. So it's calstate.edu/apply. There's a $70 application fee for each campus. The UC system, their website is admissions.universityofcalifornia.edu. So you can apply to all of the undergrad campuses through that, and there's a $70 application fee. And then private colleges in California, many of them are on the Common App that you mentioned before.
Yeah.
So to find them, you search by Region West, and it includes 45 private institutions in California, including Caltech, Loyola Marymount, Pepperdine, USC, Stanford, and obviously many more. And also, if you're just trying to, search universities in California, again, Study California /colleges-university. They have over 300 public and private schools that you can search by region and type of program.
Oh. That makes things so much easier for people to search, right? Knowing their options. Yeah, that makes it so much easier. So thank you for sharing that.
So obviously, I encourage you to look at all your schools in California, but I would be remiss if I didn't focus a little bit on Cal State East Bay. So I just wanted to give you my pitch that we have a really ideal location in the San Francisco Bay Area. It is a great location for internship opportunities. Our campus is just 30 to 40 minutes from both San Francisco and Silicon Valley. We have mild weather year-round, and our campus is on a hill overlooking San Francisco Bay. We have a great view of the Bay Area. And we do offer a low-cost, high-quality education in the CSU system. CSUAB has 49 undergraduate degrees and 30 graduate programs. We also have an American language program on campus for students that need intensive English before a degree program. We have a diverse multicultural student body. SAT, ACT not required. We have some undergraduate international student scholarships, as well as NCAA Division II sports.
And you guys' scholarship you mentioned is like up to 2,000, you said, right?
So we actually have two different tiers. So we have one scholarship that we call the Excellence Scholarship, and it is open to only incoming freshmen, and that one actually waives all of the non-resident tuition. So that's actually an $11,000 value, which could be renewed for up to the 4 years if the student maintains their GPA. So it's a very competitive application, and that one actually does require SAT, ACT to apply for that scholarship. And then the other scholarship is called the Honors Scholarship, and it waives some of the non-resident tuition, so just over $2,000. So any undergraduate student is eligible to apply for that. So whether a freshman or a transfer student, or even returning students on our campus. So last year we offered 15 scholarships. It was our first time offering them. We were very excited that we had students from 13 different countries getting our 15 scholarships here. Yeah.
This is awesome. Did you get some from Brazil though?
We did not, but I'm hoping that you will help us get the word out so that next year we will.
That's so cool. And I had a quick question before you finish, but you mentioned 2 scholarships. Can people apply to both or just one?
They can apply to both, but if they get the Excellence Scholarship, that's covering all the non-resident tuition, so that you couldn't get both. And so anyone that what we're trying to do this year is we'll say that anyone that isn't selected for the Excellence would automatically be considered for the Honors.
For the Honors, okay. And that is more of a academic, like a merit based, right? Like more like.
Yes, they're both merit based. Yeah. So we're requiring a 3.3 GPA to apply for either of them.
Cool. And the requirements, if people want to know about it, it's all in you guys' website. If people want to know all the requirements to apply.
Well, I would encourage anyone to follow us on our Facebook or Instagram, or hit me up on WhatsApp.
That's awesome.
Information.
Cool. That's so cool. That's awesome. And so scholarships, yeah. So you guys, how many international students you guys bring in each year? You mentioned it before, I think.
Yeah, so our campus has about under 15,000 students, and it's hard to say because of COVID, our numbers are a little bit down, but last year we had 1,100 international students, so it's about 8% of our student population. A lot of those are graduate students, so actually 20% of our graduate students are international, and about 6% of our undergraduate students are international.
Wow. And that's cool because usually if they want to stay after, they could just, stay after the undergrad, they could potentially stay for a master degree, right? You guys
Exactly. Yeah.
that's
And if they
awesome.
want to do OPT between them, they could do that too.
That's awesome. That's so cool. And you mentioned a lot of programs that people can, for majors and stuff like that. I was wondering if like when people apply, when they go for the application, they don't necessarily need to know what major they want, or do they need to declare the major as soon as they apply to your school?
On the Cal State Apply application, it is recommended that you select a major,
Okay.
but just because you apply to that major doesn't mean you couldn't change that later
Change.
on. But yeah, I mean, there is, I believe, an undeclared option on the application, but most students actually apply to a specific major. And for some of the campuses, that might affect if you're admissible, because some schools have programs that are more competitive. So you might be admitted in one program where you wouldn't in another. For Cal State East Bay, as I said, our only program that's impacted is nursing. And that has a very separate additional application that's very special. But otherwise, if you meet our requirements, you would be admitted. But some schools do have different requirements based on their programs.
Yeah, because I remember, like in my case, when I applied to go to a liberal arts college in Michigan, I applied putting 3 or 2 options for a major, and then I had to select one for my visa. But like you said, I could change that after. They switched for me because I just put one, just because I think my visa requirements might also need to say, oh, she's coming to study, like international business or something. And then I could switch, and that's what I did. I switched to marketing on my sophomore year. So
yeah,
it's cool.
Yeah, if you're going to switch, it's best to switch early, because otherwise you might end up having to take more classes.
Yeah, of course, and then more credits, of course. And that brings another question. Do people have access to the academic? Do you guys have academic advisors? People can help, like that have.
Of course,
they can provide help. That's awesome, because that helped me a lot, my process, because. At least it was true for me, like, and most international students that don't know the US system, it is kind of very different and also very confusing. Like once you just get there, there's credits that you need to take. There's like a list that you have to follow, like when you take like a science class, and then it can be overwhelming. So knowing that you guys have advisors, that's really awesome to help guide at least.
I think all of the campuses that I know in the UC CSU system and community college system are going to have dedicated advisors to help students select the right courses and keep them on track. So on our campus, we actually have just one person that is the advisor for international students, so that he can keep on top of all of them. And he can help advise which general education classes to get. And he's also very proactive as far as when he sees, okay, classes are filling up, we need to contact these students and make sure they sign up soon, so that they are not in the lurch when it comes to getting the classes that they want.
Yeah, that's awesome. And international students that you mentioned, that there's like, 6% of the students that go there for undergrad. Where did most of them live? Do they live on campus? Do you find, like, what do you think of like what their option for housing? Most of them choose to live on campus, or they live off campus? What's common on
our campus? Only about 10% of our students live on campus, and most students live off campus. So at Cal State East Bay, we do have dorms. There's 2 different buildings on either side of campus. Sort of freshman students often end up in one set, and then a lot of our international students choose to live in the University Village on the other side of campus. We do find that sometimes students, they want to start out in a dorm, and then after they've made some friends and know the area better, then they decide to move out with friends and be a bit more independent. Our dorms on campus actually, I shouldn't say dorms, they're actually student apartments and suites. And they've just recently introduced triples as an option for students that want to save money, because normally it would be doubles where you're just with one other student. But because the cost of living is so high in the Bay Area, they actually put additional students in each apartment in order to cut the cost down for those that want that.
Yeah, for sure. And about because the housing, I know for sure, like it's a high cost for students. And you mentioned, how much do you mention it could be, or you could get to, like a housing for a whole year?
What we say for our I-20 is that we estimate $18,000.
$18,000.
So we know that apartments in our area range from about $1,700 for a 1-bedroom apartment to $3,000 a month for a 3-bedroom apartment. So the Bay Area is quite expensive, but just keep in mind that where we are in the East Bay is actually the most affordable part of the Bay Area. So the costs go up even higher from if you go into the city of San Francisco or Silicon Valley near all the tech companies.
And you guys have for food, do you guys have meal plans that people could get?
We do. Yeah.
That's awesome.
We have on-campus dining commons and several other fast food options throughout our campus: Starbucks, Pizza Hut, Jamba Juice, all of those. And we also have food trucks that come twice a week. So that's really fun. They bring a variety of different kinds of foods, and they're really diverse and interesting. There's one that's like vegan Filipino food. And then there's like Thai tacos. So really interesting mixes of different kinds of food. Yeah.
What's a like, if I go to California, is there like something that I need to eat? Like, there's like, every state has like a different, like Philadelphia has the Philly steak, like,
cheesesteak, right?
Yeah, Philly cheesesteak. Do you guys have something like that in California, like a common?
Oh, that's a good question, because I'm not a native Californian.
So that's right.
I do know that fast food was born in California, like the very first McDonald's was in California, and a lot of other like In-N-Out Burger. There's a lot of interesting fast food, especially in Southern California. But cool. California is also known for wine. So for students who are over 21 and eligible, the wine country is just an hour from our campus, and usually we arrange what we call fun trips that often includes a visit to Sonoma and Napa counties to see some of the wine growing areas and do wine tastings.
Wow, that's awesome. Yeah, we've seen that in lots of movies, and California is really beautiful. You guys do have everything, landscape wise. Like, there's just so much, and I love it. And for students to get around, because here I ask because in Brazil it's not super developed, but the transportation system, what do students use to move around the city and go from classes to housing, or if they live off campus, what do they use?
So it really depends on the size of the campus where you're studying. Our campus is very walkable, so you could walk from one side of campus to the other in 15 minutes. A lot of our students will just have a skateboard or a bike to get across campus. I know on bigger campuses like at UCs or some of the larger CSUs, they'll have a shuttle bus going throughout the campus. We have a shuttle bus that takes you from our campus into downtown Hayward into the BART system, which is our transit system for the Bay Area. So we just have that shuttle bus from campus to the BART, and from there you can hop on and get into the city. But a lot of students actually buy cars. Or you can also just use Uber or Lyft to get around. Or you make friends with a local student who has a car.
That works, because
we do have also there's a possibility to get cars that you can rent by the hour on campus. We have, so if you're old enough to do that, you can use that system as well.
Oh, that's so cool. That's really cool. That is something that during my 4-year college experience, I tried to get a driver's license. When I got in, I don't know if that happens also for students that go to California, but I had a Michigan ID. Like, it was like a Michigan ID because I had a social security number. I don't know if that's common, because I had to work on campus.
You have to get a social security number if you're going to be working.
Yeah. So I got one, and then I received a Michigan ID, or I applied for one. I don't remember the process, but I know I had one. And then I was like, well, maybe I can apply or try to do when I'm over 18. I could skip driver's training and try to just do the test, which for me was so cool, because then I just studied for one test on my own. Then I passed it, and I got my permit. I don't know if you guys call it something else, but I got my permit, and I was, trying to practice for certain hours to then be able to take the test. But by the time I graduated, my visa expired, and I was never able to do the test. No. I wanted to have an American, driver's license, because then I could transfer it to Brazil, and that would make it so much easier. Our process is really different. But I always encourage people to do it, because for those who want to do it, being 18 and not having to take driver's training, just study for the test is way better than the process here in Brazil when you're 18 and having to start. So that's something really cool. And one thing that I want to ask you also, during my application process to college, I had to write a essay or a personal statement. Do you guys ask for that also?
At Cal State East Bay, we do not. It is not required. Only for the scholarship applicants. Okay, so scholarship applicants.
So that's cool to know, because I always try to compare to my way just so I can see how different it is. But when I applied as a whole. So it was like one application. I did the essay to apply for the college itself. It was a personal statement. I had to send my resume along with it, and I had to my transcript all translated into the English system, right? The GPA system that you guys use. And I did that, and then they returned back to me saying, oh, you got this much of scholarship based on all what you sent, and the TOEFL. And I also took the SAT, but they asked for either or. So they took my TOEFL, which had the higher score. If you compare, they're not really comparable, but they took into consideration, and they got back to me like, hey, we can offer you this of scholarship. So they did all of that. So that's cool to know that once you apply to your school, then you can apply for California State University. I'm talking about East Bay. You apply first for the school and then for the scholarship that you want. Is that how you?
Yes. Yeah. So the scholarship application is completely separate from the university application. So for us, you finish your application on Cal State Apply, and then you'll get an email confirming receipt, and it will also give you what we call a net ID. And then using that net ID, you can log into our scholarship portal and then search for different opportunities. So the two opportunities that I mentioned are just a couple out of actually hundreds of scholarships that are in our portal. International students are not eligible for every award, but there are a lot of awards in addition to those two that I mentioned that students could be eligible for as well.
Yeah, that's so cool. And for students to apply, because this is also a question that people here have, because we do have different academic calendars as to when school starts. Yes. So you guys start in the fall, right? Just like the whole country, like you guys start in the fall.
We start in the fall in mid-August, and then we also have an intake in spring, which starts January 21st this year. So just after our Martin Luther King holiday is when most spring semesters start. And so most of the CSU schools are now on a semester system. There is one that is still on a quarter system. Some of the UC schools are on a quarter system, so they have later start dates.
Okay. And let's say that if I know that's usually what people here do. They apply right to start in the fall, because that's what most people end
that's
up
the
doing.
Biggest intake. Yeah. It's the most common one. Yeah.
And that's the most common.
And definitely for our scholarships, they're only open if you start in fall.
Oh, see, that's all the stuff that people should know. So I always say, like, if you go just start in August, because that's when everyone does it, most people, I should say. And that's when you meet the most people, and that's
when
you
meet more people.
Exactly. Yeah. And so if I wanted to apply right now to Cal State East Bay, for next fall, which is next year. We call it year when it's 2021, because you guys call it year.
Academic year.
Yes. So you guys call it something else sometimes. But then if I wanted to apply right now, what is my due date for applying for next fall? Because I know there's one starting. You guys already started a fall right now. You guys did, right?
The fall application just opened yesterday. So you just go to Cal State Apply, and then you pull up the different campus that you're looking for, and each campus will have slightly different dates that their applications are due. So for Cal State East Bay, it's May 1st.
May 1st. So I have right now until May 1st to apply, right? So I have some time. That's awesome. So that at least gives some people some time to think. And yeah, that's awesome. That's good to know, because people always ask that question, like, when should I apply? Well, that also varies by school, like you said, and even by campus, like you mentioned. So it's very specific. And once you guys is closed that day, you can no longer apply, or you can apply for then upcoming terms once May 1st gets when he arrives.
Yeah, after the May 1st deadline, then you would just wait in for the spring application to open. So our spring applications open August 1st to October 1st. But one just thing to note is that our scholarship deadline is earlier. So the priority deadline for scholarships is January 31st.
January. So you have now until January for scholarships. And let's say that I applied like tomorrow and I sent in my application. When would I know that I got accepted? Like, how long does that take?
So after you send in your application, you also have to send us your TOEFL or IELTS score and the transcripts with the translation, like you said. So once we have received all of those documents, you could receive a decision within 2 weeks for an undergraduate degree. For graduate programs, the process is longer because each department makes a different decision.
Yeah. No, that's perfect. And this really answers all the questions I had that are so different from what my process was. But it wasn't really that different, but it's just like it is to a bigger school in a way, like there's just like small differences that and even in a different state, like you said, you mentioned so many different systems that I wasn't even part of. I was part of the private colleges, but not in California. So it's kind of really cool.
Yeah, and you can't even really group private colleges because they're all so different.
They are all so different. And that's what I found. Like I told you, like I talked to a Brazilian girl who is in California, and she has dorms in a community college, which to me was so different because Michigan, none of them had dorms, But that's cool. Like you said, more people are starting to join community colleges to do that process that you explained, which is 2 years there, and then they transfer to a different system, or like university system, or California state system. And more people are doing that. So I feel like they're probably thinking about starting dorms and having options for students that want to go there, because it's increasing the amount of people that choose that path, right? So that's awesome. Well, Laura, I would like to really thank you for doing this and answering all my questions. I'm going to leave your contact. People should contact you, right? If they have more questions, you're the person.
To contact me. I wouldn't say that I could answer every question about community colleges or UCs or even other CSUs, but I can answer general questions and try to point you in the right direction. And definitely, if anyone's interested in Cal State East Bay, I'd be happy to follow up with you.
That's awesome that you guys have a WhatsApp number. People are going to go crazy on that here because we use that all the time. Well, not crazy on like send you a lot of messages, but being able to talk to you on WhatsApp, that breaks people's mind. Or like at least asking you questions about the school, which I think I really encourage people to do that, because you guys can really guide people through your guys' process of application, because so it's unique to the college in a way. So, but thank you so much, Laura. And I'm glad you passed along your contact information and you gave us some really good information on studying California that I didn't even know. But that's awesome. I really appreciate your time on doing this, and hopefully we'll get you back maybe on different presentations. I would love to have you guys back here, but that's awesome. Thank you so much. And I hope you have. Take care. Yes, you too. Thank you so much, and we'll talk again soon.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Right. Bye, Laura.